Everybody, so welcome to our Earth Hour public event. Now, it may look a little dark in here because it's 8:30 and everybody's lights should be off. Okay, so Earth Hour, basically it's a global event where people turn their lights off between 8:30 and 9:30 in order to conserve energy. So I've only got the one light on to so at least you guys can see. So it's a little bit dark. So what I have here is I'm going to basically, in the spirit of Earth Hour, just put that journal away. I'm just going to basically talk to you guys and show you guys basically how you can take some recycled art material and use it to create something new. Now, this year we've been doing a lot of our work in our actual art journals and not on canvas. First of all, because I just don't have the room for canvases anymore. Like one book that we just did, this one here, okay, is all Terra Skin, 5x7. I think we counted, this is equivalent to something like 150 canvases, and it's only like this thick, okay? Especially for experimentation in that. But what I did here, and people, think, oh, I have to go out and buy an art journal. You know what? I don't like anything manufactured. I like stuff that's made by hand. And this is just something I made out of the weekly newspaper. It's an actual journal that just needs to be bound. I took the weekly newspaper and I covered it with gesso. Now, this one here, because newspaper is quite thin, I just went into my blue bin, my blue box, and I just got the weekly newspaper. And it's already scored, it's already perforated or folded and everything, and just comes like this. So I basically, on this page here, this is actually, what is this? Oh, this is a grocery flyer. Who's this for? I have no idea. I can't even see. But I just covered this with gesso. Okay. This particular page, I overlaid napkins that were not used at dinner time, but couldn't really be reused. Okay, whether it was just water that was spilled and we picked it up. So I actually took gesso, put the napkin on top, and put gesso on top of that to stick. That also makes the page thick. Okay, and then this one here, I used the remnants of a paper towel roll, and what else? Napkin. And wrapping paper. I use wrapping paper. So everything just gessoed onto this to make it really stiff. So then this, basically I would just bind it. And then what I ended up with, this is one that I actually made a little while ago, which is just ready to start having art created into it. So I took paper towels that I use from when I'm creating a watercolor or an acrylic painting. I'll take those paper towels and just keep them. Okay, and so I use the paper towels as a stiffener for the newspaper. I used drywall tape over here. I used a cocktail napkin. This is a wine bottle. I used a cocktail napkin, and everything here is basically just with gesso. Okay, what I used to use was called sludge. And there is actually something called sludge, and I believe it's made by TriArt, which is when you are acrylic painting and it's the sediment at the bottom. That's sludge. I used to make up my own. It's just when you're cleaning your brushes for art and everything settles on the bottom, the acrylic stuff, just dump out the water and just you have left over all the acrylic sediment on the bottom. It happens with oils a lot, but I don't like using oils in these type of journals. But so I was using the sludge actually as my glue. And I took then as well to build up the strength. Joe bought some commercial paper for me, and there were a whole bunch of stickers in there. I didn't use the actual stickers. I used the outside of the stickers. The stickers I'm going to give to Ava, but I just use the outside, put that on. It just creates, first of all, it strengthens the page. Then when I put gesso over this to get rid of, I'll have texture. Okay. More paper towel and napkins. Let's see, what else do I have here? Oh, okay, so this is basically my smash journal where I throw everything in there, but more paper towel. This had watercolor stuff on it. A piece of masonite here. This is an acrylic transfer, but masonite in here. Oh, and then the newspaper. There was a little puppy dog here, so I did the gesso really thin here so I can keep that. But so I created this entire journal out of newspapers. Here's all the old, this is all paper towels with acrylics. And in here, it's all about making it strong, okay? And then here was a liner off, I believe, there's a metal liner from, I think, cream cheese. Let's see. Yep, and the string is from old string that is, because I used these for bookbinding, and this was all stuff that was too short to use, so I just bound it and just made a decoration on it. And I can actually go over this, but this is an art journal that can be used. It didn't cost me anything other than the time to put it together and really the gesso, because you need glue. Okay, the gesso acts as the glue. If you don't have gesso, how you can repurpose something, I've used this a lot of time. If you have primer, leftover paint, okay, you can actually take primer and leftover paint to stiffen up newspaper if you want to do some art techniques or color studies or painting studies in a repurposed surface. Now, I'll be saying an art journal. It doesn't have to be an art journal. I just use an art journal because it's convenient. I don't have any more room for my canvases, and basically all my pochods, which are quick study paintings, I now do in a journal to save space. Okay, so primer, paint, anything, any of this stuff lying around, it's just to stiffen up the pages so you can reuse it. Okay, because you can't dump this stuff down the sink. It has to go to hazardous waste disposal. I don't care what it says on the can, you can't dump this down the sink. So why not use it to create something that you can make art out of? So use old house paint just to stiffen up your pages. Then when that's ready, prepare your page with a coat of gesso. Okay, especially because sometimes you might create a piece of art that's really nice and you don't want it to, you want it to be able to last, because paint like this is not as flexible as acrylic material. Okay, so I'll put that aside. Now, other things that you can use when I'm creating pieces, I will put wax paper underneath my pages so the pages don't stick together, keeps them clean. Wax paper, oh my goodness. Wax paper is also great. Now you guys should be able to, I only have one light on, so you guys should be able to see. Wax paper is also a great thing to build up texture. Okay, I don't know if you guys can see the texture on that. Okay, this is all repurposed material that's on top of this cover. This is a Canson multimedia book. I don't like anything manufactured, but I use this to demonstrate that if you don't want to bind your own journal, because I do a lot of binding for the journals out of a single sheet of watercolor paper, that you can go out and buy something and then prepare it. So the wax paper, oh, here it is. There's another piece here. You can see the shine. You can put wax paper on top of this with clear medium as the glue to create texture. Okay, because and here's wrapping paper tissue, creates texture. I won't leave it like this. I'll actually put, gesso or whatever color I want as a base. Because I used to use modeling paste for my texture. Modeling paste, first of all, is a product you have to buy. It takes a long time to dry, but when you're creating it with recycled material, first of all, it's good because you're recycling something that doesn't have to either go to the recycling depot to be recycled, but you can use it to create art. I find I can control this so much better. Okay, so, and here's another one on the back. Okay, a lot of, I even took a piece of, this is dryer lint. Okay, just to create all the texture. Save the inside wax paper bags using cereal boxes. I save them and use them. Exactly. Yep. That's we don't eat cereal because it's processed. But you're right. You're exactly right, Leslie. That'll work just fine. And then so I use those, and then basically all the little leftover pieces like this is you can put paint on your surface, and then you crinkle that up and put it on, and then push it in, and it'll create an amazing texture. Dryer sheets. Okay, we're going to be creating a class on how to print on dryer sheets and how to paint on dryer sheets. Yes, dryer sheets. I have, and this is where, where is it? Oh, good Lord. I have so many. Experimental art journals. Oh, no, that's not it. That's an acrylic transfer. Oh, here's, okay, so there's a dryer sheet right in here. And then corrugated cardboard. Okay, and then when you paint on that, it's just all texture. But the dryer sheets, I have one that's actually, oh, it's in my Smash book. Hold on a second, let me see if it's in this one here. Here we go. Now, the dryer sheet I was using, this one was to create actual texture. This one I painted on. Now, this is basically what's called a Go Local book. And this is a journal that's in progress. This is made out of strictly recycled material that is being used for, basically, I like anything from the wine industry. So, this was all torn paper and stuff that came with wine bottle labels. Here's a blank dryer sheet here. Silver paper from a wine bottle. Natural Evolution. This is from Harley's dog food bag. This is just the day he passed away, so I put that in there. Birthday card, but this is a dryer sheet here. Okay. Now, on a dryer sheet, it is so easy. If you want to use it as texture, you basically just put it down with gesso. Gesso is the key. Okay, that's the glue. Okay. Now, the one thing is that if you're using it just to strengthen, you can use cheap gesso. Okay. But what I like to do is I like to get really good gesso, and I also repurpose the containers the gesso comes in. Okay, so you've got the Permalba gesso. Now, what I like about the Permalba gesso is that it's made from ground marble and pure titanium white pigment. Kind of organic, isn't it? And I use the empty container for water, but the professional gesso I can thin down. Okay, the problem is if you get really thin gesso, you can't thicken it up if you want to do something constructive with it. So I took the gesso and I thinned it down with water, which is why you can see through. And these are dryer sheets. And, a baby wipe. Okay, baby wipe. So when I took the baby wipe and I put it on here, then I took the baby wipe and I pressed it on here. And then put it back and then sealed it. And I got a transfer out of that. So I put the wax paper on there. Because it's glossy, it sticks. This is my acrylic transfer card I did. So, do I have one more? Oh, here's another one. Okay, so see that? That's a dryer sheet. But look at the texture. Listen. That texture is absolutely... You know how much modeling paste you would have to use for this? The dryer sheet is free. Because you would just end up throwing it out. Actually, we put it into our green bin. Why not use it for something like this? Okay, so that's a dryer sheet. This is paper. What is this one? This is another baby wipe. No, this is not baby wipe. This is, what is that? Is that paper towel? That's paper towel. Paper towel, I put that in for the texture. Okay. Do I have another dryer sheet here? Oh, on the back, there's another dryer sheet on here. So, thin gesso as the glue. Then I come over with paint, and I just took a squeegee thing and just scraped the paint off, and it was leftover paint from a project. I didn't squeeze the paint on here. I just took it from my palette and squeezed it. So basically, anytime I'm painting, whatever paint's left over my palette, I will take it and I will spread it out onto another journal because it creates the random backgrounds. Okay, hopefully that makes sense to you guys. Now, to actually do some of this stuff, when you're using dryer sheets, if you want to print on them in your printer, you need to get something called digital ground. And what that is, you picture a sheet of letter-sized paper, and you basically put that on there. You need to put this digital ground on there because the ink needs something to stick to because this is so thin. Okay, what I like to do with these is just basically, again, just if I'm printing on it, I'll put it on wax paper, digital ground, and then I'll tape it to a sheet of a heavy cardstock and backfeed it into the printer. Okay, I only did that once. It didn't do a thing for me, but to paint on them, you can treat it like a regular piece of art material. Okay, a dryer sheet. Another, what is this? That's another, what is this? This is, I don't know what that is. That's either, that's a Clorox wipe, I think. I'm just smelling it. I think that's a Clorox wipe. Same thing. Okay. Now, before this gets all soft and gooey, this is a class that I'm teaching on Tuesday. The gelatin monoprinting. Okay. This is all broken down because it's been used. So I used this is a thin piece. That's what not to do. So gelatin monoprinting is just basically with a Jello product. Now this piece here, what it is, you can take stuff like this. Okay. I'm going to take a dryer sheet. So I'm just going on my journal page. Okay. Now this particular plate, I made this with Knox gelatin. There's a reason why you can't use normal Jello. I'm thinking because of the sugar. Okay. So this particular printing plate is all broken up. Okay. Is that going to stop me from using it? No. No. With this, I can use ink or paint. I can use ground coffee. Joe thought I was nuts. I got ground coffee from my bin. Green tea, leftover green tea. Dead leaves. I have to be careful because if Chaos chews on these are upset her tummy. All leaves. The tea bags. Okay, so you can use all this stuff for monoprinting as well. Now, not these in particular, but little bits of pastels that you have. I'm going to show you how to create a beautiful background using these little bits of pastel and gesso. Gesso is key. Key. Gesso. Now, because I'm limited on space, I'm going to take a piece of plexiglass. Now, plexiglass I was using for reverse glass. This is an actual defective piece. It's all chipped. Am I going to throw it away? No. Smooth side. I put my printing plate, my plate right there. Okay. This plate, though, if I was doing proper monoprinting, I wouldn't use it because it's broken and it's all shrunk. This was actually this big, but as you leave it in the fridge, it starts to shrink. So, what are we going to use? I typically use acrylic paint, but basically the thing is with when you're doing monoprinting is you put your ink or your paint here, you use a brayer to roll it out, okay, and then you can take your materials, okay, leaves, roll the paint or ink out, and then take whatever it is you want to work on, put it down, and then you have a print. Monoprinting means one. Okay, I don't do it anything just once. I'll use it to make additional prints. Now, for the sake of showing an experiment, I'm not going to use the coffee grounds or the tea. The coffee grounds and tea I use to dye paper, and we'll all do that as well. Now, I also use a heat gun to dry this stuff when I'm doing a class, but because this is a Earth Hour moment, I'm not going to use a heat gun, so I'll just do multiple sheets. So what I'll do is I'm just going to take a little bit of acrylic paint. Now, one thing is if you've done a project and you've got paint left over, that would be ideal to use. So I can take, let me get some good contrast here. Let me take some alizarin crimson and some cad yellow dark. I don't want to get anything too dark because I'm only working with one video light. Now, so I just take a brayer. Now, you don't have a brayer? No problem. Which I probably should have done because this is about the green bin thing. This is from a container of wax paper. You can take that and roll this as well. Okay, this is really hard, great as a roller. So, and you could get all these different looks. Okay, so I'm going to put that over here. So I've got my old gelatin plate, which really is no good anymore. Dead leaves. Now you tell I just recycled about 3 of those tubes. Oh, you should see, Leslie, the stuff from my green bin that I have in here to use. Oh my God, I don't throw anything out. If I can use it for art, I use it for art. So dead plants, okay, dead leaves. And then what you could do is that you roll, whoopsie, roll that, okay, it's drying out. See how I got that negative print there? Okay, just going to put that back here. Uh-oh, where am I going to put that? Take the dryer sheet. I don't care if I get my hands wet. Now, this stuff here is not going to be museum quality. But you know what? It's not about museum quality. This year, to me, it's not about museum quality. It's about creating art. And then, just so you can see what it looks like, there. I would let that dry, and then I could just put some clear medium, like matte gel, and glue it inside my book, or to stiffen it up. Okay. The leftover piece that I have here, this is called the ghost print. It's usually the second print, sometimes maybe a third, that you can get from a gelatin monoprint. Look at that. How random is that? Now, you could use that for a card, as a background for a painting, anything. But look how random that is. So now what I could do is I could take that gelatin print and I could put other stuff on it. Okay, I can put string on it and just do the same rolling. Now, Leslie, do you know that you're saying about those, this I need to wipe out. Hang on, let me just get a baby wipe and just wipe that around. Now, I'm also using baby wipes a lot because of there's a period I was using Clorox wipes so much and they started to burn my fingers a little bit. So now I just use the Clorox wipes for oils. Now watch, I'm cleaning my piece here, my brayer. You would need to do this if you were using a tube. So you clean your brayer, blah, blah, blah. See this? This makes for a fantastic thing to transfer acrylic paint to a journal background. What I like to do with these, I let them dry. I pulled two up by mistake. I let them dry and then rinse them out. And then I will take that and put that onto a newspaper or in a journal page with gesso to stiffen up the page. Just like this. Like that. Okay. And let's see. I would usually let that dry, but I'm going to do it right now just so you can see. So I'll take some old primer. Okay. What can I use to put that on there? Oh, you know what? I'm going to have to use a brush because if I use my hands in the spirit of it being for Earth Hour, I would have to wash my hands. It uses up water. So just primer, and this is for stiffening up the page only, okay? And when you push that into the, whether it's a paper towel or a baby wipe, the gesso will sink through, or the primer sinks through, and it'll stick. Now, I wouldn't go out and buy primer just for this. This is leftover stuff. This was just going to go to the hazardous waste disposal unit where we get rid of like batteries and paint cans and that. Okay. There we go. That's it. That's it. That's all you need to do. So I use it, so a baby wipe that I use to clean my brayer, I then put into the journal to use to stiffen up the page. Now, that dryer sheet, that old wax paper that I had, strip of wax paper, use that just to press that down. Oh, I'm getting a little bit of primer on my dryer sheet. Oh boy, what am I going to do? I got all this primer on here. What am I going to do? Crinkle it up. Take it up. Turn it around. Crinkle it up again. Push that in. I'm going to have to steal some, put it over here. Additional texture and something else to strengthen the page. So you can see how I'm building and building and building and building to create this truly unique, there's a little piece of baby wipe that I didn't use up, a truly unique and random piece of something. Okay, now that's that dryer, the paper towel tubes, Leslie. I'm just going to wipe my hands because I'm going to show you something else. So I'm going to take a sheet, put that in here. Now I've got a bunch of our other journals I could work in, but this was one made out of newspaper, so I'm going to hang on to that one. The old tubes, Leslie, they make for amazing things to stamp with. Circles. I love circles. Okay, I love circles. So what I have here is I have a whole bunch of different crap. We all know what that is. That's from I think potatoes? No, not potatoes, vegetables. Bubble wrap. Okay, I create a whole bunch of free videos using all this material. This is all from stuff from the grocery store. Packaging material. Okay, you can use it to make stuff. Okay, now for the roll, leftover paint. If you want to use leftover paint, you take your roll and just put it into paint, and you can create really interesting objects on an existing piece of material. I can take this piece of styrofoam from, I think it was for grilled vegetables. Push that on here. Push, push, push. Okay. Now you can do this on canvas or whatever. I'm just using it in a journal that I made out of recycled newspapers. I get lines. Okay. What else have I got? Oh, heck. The plate, it's starting to dry. And you just keep going and going and going. That dryer sheet that I had, transfer acrylics onto that. Okay, so I would do all this stuff to build the texture into on my newspaper journals to make them stronger. Okay, to make them really, really strong. I need to put that aside. Put my gelatin plate back there. Just got to make some room. This thing here, won't throw that away. It goes back right back in my box. Okay. So the other thing that you can do to repurpose stuff, and where's? Oh, you know what? I won't use gesso. I will use the primer. To creating with all these little pastel bits. Okay, so I have a container of, but it'll be really, really dusty. So I'm just going to get the little bits here that are destined for that bin. Okay, my bin of little bits that are too small that I can't use for anything. And also pastels that I don't like end up there too. Go in here, find little itty bitty. Oh, here's some more little itty bitty bits. Okay. So little bitty bits of pastels, and I'm just going to move that. Whoopsie. Just going to get a fresh page to demonstrate on. Okay. So I can take these little itty bitty bits and I can just do this. And I can just, oh, black, I don't want to use black because you won't be able to see that. And I can just take the bitty bits because I really can't use them for any detailed wildlife work or anything like that. Okay. When they go into a little container, I can crush them, and I can do that as well. Now, gesso, but I'm using primer because it's leftover stuff from the house. I'm trying to use everything that's been reclaimed. So gesso or primer right on top of the pastel. And as you start doing that, you're going to start getting some color. So this is a great way to build up some beautiful color onto a page by using pastels, and I'm just using primer, that would have been destined for the garbage. Okay. What else can we do? Well, we could take, let's see. If you wanted to keep it the way it is, that's fine. But I could take, let me get a bigger piece. So, whoopsie. I could take crumpled wax paper and smush it on there. Lift it up, and then I'll get some real interesting texture in here. Okay? I could take leaves. The leaves that I use for my mono printing, I can push the leaves into this. Oh, here's one with red on it. I can push the leaves into that and they'll be glued into the piece. Now, if I did that, I would actually take wax paper and just really push it, because I don't want to get all that paint guck all over my fingers. It just means more water that has to be used. Okay, you can take the stuff off. You can, oh, another neat thing, string. Okay, leftover string from a packing box. It's all about creating these really random shapes and images. Oh, here, the number 2. And I could just basically, with the gesso, put a little bit of gesso on top, or in my case, because it's, you know, something I found in the basement, primer as the glue. And then I can take the wax paper, and when I use the wax paper, I put wax paper in between and then close the book, and that'll hold everything down. And then when you peel off the wax paper, everything else will still be stuck to it. And you can use that as a base for another piece of artwork. This is mixed media. Okay, this old piece here, I would still use that for something else. I'll just put it over here, just kind of smush that in there. So leftover string, you can use that as a basis for something. I can take an old pastel bit, because it's not for detail, and I can color in right into the wet gesso, because I don't care. This is pastel that would have ended up in the garbage. And I can draw right on that. When you have little bits of doodads here and there, your art will be more random, because you're using something that you typically wouldn't use to create art. My number 2 here isn't sticking. There we go. There we go. And push that down. Stick! There we go. And all you're doing when you're doing this, the pushing, is that you're smearing the gesso or the primer into your piece. Okay? Now, coffee grounds and stuff. If you want to stain your paper, if you want to stain your paper, this is kind of cool. I take over the coffee grounds here, and I'll just kind of squeeze as much liquid out of it. And you can actually just take that right on top of the paper. Be careful when you rub, though, because you'll eventually start breaking down the filter. And that'll make a beautiful stain. Now, there's controversy over using coffee and tea to stain paper. Some people say because of the pH balance in it, it's not good for art. Some people say it's better for art. The way I look at it, this is just experimenting. I'll do whatever I want. Same thing with the tea bags. Do I have another white page I can use?